Dude, you are getting well. Dudes all over the world, but especially those of you here in the Dude Nation listening live or perhaps to this recording later on, welcome to the first day of the rest of your life. And welcome to this conversation. Dude, you're getting well with myself, Ben Curtis, and I have a very special guest today. I found him on the interwebs, and I seem to manage getting my algorithms working pretty well for me, and that I'm finding people that really inspire me and light me up. And as a fellow artist and songwriter and singer and spoken word artist, since I've been writing since I can remember, there's someone that came across my world and also through the Real Men Feel show and a few other podcasts. And his name is Colton. And Colton is a poet. He has worked with mental health advocacy through poetry and writes just remarkably what I think is such a beautiful, like, real grounded, wise man. Even though he's quite a young man, he talks about grief, survival, trauma, and in his words, like, puts it into words for the people who don't know how to speak their pain yet. He's passionate about making space for the heavy stuff most people are too scared to sit with, especially for men who were taught silence is strength. And you know, I love me some of that. So without further ado, let's give a warm round of applause to Colton. Welcome, Colton.
Hey, thank you, Ben.
That was your screaming fan music.
That was fantastic. I appreciate that. Thank you
Colton,
for the good introduction.
Oh, you're so welcome. Colton Van Bale, is that how you pronounce it?
Van Bali, it's a tricky one.
Ooh, Van Bali. Yeah. I like that. That reminds me of the great Svengali, famous magician.
Yep.
So Van Bali, Colton, what brings you here today? I know why I sought you out. Why did you say yes?
You know, any opportunity to spread the word, not only about my work, but poetry in general. I feel like it gets this kind of rap where it's pretty little butterflies and rainbows, and it's just not that, at least not in the way I use it. And that stuff exists and it's great and I love it, but poetry is such a powerful tool. It's a really cool place for people to go and just bleed onto a page. You know what I mean?
Well, I know what you mean, because I've literally bled on a page before. I was quite the tortured artist for a while in my life. And I actually figured out how to stop, like, torturing myself, that I didn't always need to be in pain to write, but I did find it such a cathartic place. And still to this day it is. Even in my relationship with my wife, we've had a band for 10 years. We tour, we do all kinds of things with, and it's called Dirty May. MAE, and we even still, when we have, like, things we're dealing with, we put it into the music a lot, and that becomes the medicine for us. It's helped heal us and keep us closer. And as long as we're singing and writing, we find we keep growing. And sometimes I'm like, man, I really feel for people who don't have this outlet, you know, and I wonder what people are doing out there. But you know, I know a lot of people who are like, oh, I can't sing or I can't play an instrument, but everybody can sit down and write. And I think writing is maybe a lost art, perhaps even. But you know, you had some well, I guess I'm really curious. You said you write from the rawest parts of yourself, and I wonder what's the moment or maybe breakdown that kind of first pushed you to put pen to paper and give your pain a voice. Have you always been writing? When did that start?
Yeah, no, great question. This is kind of a fun story. I started out just a 14, 13-year-old kid wanting to be a rock star, right?
Hell yeah. No wonder we're friends already.
Exactly. Had a pretty good run at it. I was a vocalist, and we ended up doing pretty decent, traveling around the Midwest, did a few shows here and there, and even recorded a couple songs. But my voice, I was born with an essential tremor, and it unfortunately spread into my vocal box, which I generated a stutter from, and I lost my voice in the process. So when you lose that control of the muscles in your throat, you can't really make a sound right. And I did more heavy metal, so I was doing the screaming, and you need a lot of breath control for that. And yeah, when that was gone, I was done, and it's never really back. I've had a surgery since. I have a battery in my chest. That
Wow.
yeah, it was a crazy surgery, but I've never
So
got
you're
full,
like part bionic.
basically Iron Man, you know?
Nice. Like RoboCop.
Yeah.
Do you know that reference? Are you old enough to know
Absolutely.
the RoboCop reference?
So I'm a young man, but I tell everybody I turned 30 when I turned 16. So I'm one of those old soul types.
Nice. How old are you?
I'm 28.
Beautiful. You made it through the 27 club. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I was just actually watching a really, really cool documentary last night on Kurt Cobain. And I think it's from, if I can remember the screen print, like 2013 or 15. It's called Montage of Heck. And it's all this incredible writings and footage and stuff that he created and put together with music and then reinterpreted by the director and producers. And I was so amazed at how he was able to capture his pain. And I think that's something I really identified with him. And I've been stoked to see younger people or people of the new generations coming up, like wearing Nirvana shirts and even knowing who they are. Because for me, he was really someone who gave me hope that I could like make pain in music and it could even be successful. And then I remember the moment he died. I was a teenager. I know where I was. I was at this church camp and I went up to this huge bell tower and I rang the bell in honor of Kurt. And because we were all like playing his music, you know, that was what we did to survive as teenagers back then. And it was also, I shared, like I was into the Tool, Korn, Pantera, Metallica, Nine Inch Nails. So I did a bit of screaming myself. Yeah. What's your do you have any bands on where we could hear you doing that? I mean, I assume probably shouldn't ask you to scream now. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't scream anymore. No, it wouldn't break the batteries. I just can't do it anymore. It doesn't come out right.
You're just like
yeah, you know,
it's maybe safer. I don't know. Not everybody should be screaming all the time.
100%. There's some old clips out there that exist. I wouldn't even know how to track them down at this point. I think they live
on like my MySpace.
No. I'm not that old. I did have a MySpace though.
Nice.
Sorry. That was
I wonder if MySpace will come back.
I hope it does.
I'm putting in the comments. I had this band called Samvara, because every name we wanted to take was taken, and it was like a prog rock band, and we finally, like 15 years later, put our music up on Spotify. So if you want to hear me doing some screaming and some hardcore prog rock, you can stream that. But I want to go back to you. I'm just loving connecting with you, so we'll jamming with you. You know, you were like, I just bleed on paper, which took me down a rabbit hole. So what, for anyone who's like, what the fuck? Like, I thought poetry is like supposed to rhyme and be nice. I know some of us, like, especially me, sorry, I've got burps from never just seltzer while you're hosting a podcast.
I know.
You know, in the South, like there's a lot of repression, be nice and stuff, especially when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s. So I wonder, you know, there's a lot of people who experience the resistance to really giving themselves full permission to put that kind of stuff down and out, as if like if they share it, they're gonna, you know, I'll speak for myself. Like if I tell someone or I write this down, I'm gonna die. Like I can't dare share my deepest, darkest thoughts, or it's going to mean something that's going to happen or come true. And I wonder if that's ever shown up to you, or what you
Yeah.
might say to someone who experiences that.
You know, the crazy thing is, so I stopped writing, or I didn't stop writing, I stopped performing and I
Hmm.
stopped writing music, but transitioned into poetry from there because writing was a huge part of my life and it was such a good outlet. But then I started writing poetry and went like into hiding with it. Didn't even tell my closest friends. It was something I was almost ashamed of because of that stigma around it and because of how everybody viewed poetry. Like, well, that's weird. And then I would knock out like those projects in language arts and they'd be incredible. And it was hilarious. But so I was in hiding, so to speak, up until February of this year. I had like a terrible day. One of those where everything that can go wrong goes wrong. What's that called? Murphy's Law, something like that. Um, and I ended up going over to a buddy's. We were watching hockey. I had a couple drinks, couple too many drinks, and I was like, you know what, dude, I gotta write. So I'm sitting there writing on my phone, and he taps me and he's like, "What are you doing?" Because I zoned out. And so I read him what I wrote. 2 weeks later, he drugged me to a poetry slam. I ended up winning it. And that sparked everything since then. We have a book now that just released on Sunday called Let's Talk About It. Um, I have a mini chapbook coming out on Friday. So that's called Trilogies Aren't Therapy, but I tried anyway. And it's been unreal. Unreal. The following I've gathered, the community that's been built. It's such a cool place. You have people from all over the country. And what it's taken or caused me to realize is that while the things we go through are unique to us, right? Our situations may be unique. It The feelings that they give are really universal. So as a man, I may have been through one thing, but that doesn't mean the thing you went through was any different emotionally on you, right? And the ability to connect through apps like TikTok and social media in general has just been unreal. It's been fantastic.
I'm really happy to hear you say that, because I've wondered, how it's made an impact positively or negatively. I see people connecting, on being outsiders or even going to the extreme of like incels. And I wonder, I'm sure you get a lot of trolls and haters too. Sometimes, maybe not, but usually a few make
Surprisingly.
an impact.
Yeah, so maybe I'm not doing good enough. I haven't got many trolls yet, you
Well,
know?
it's great.
And we've built just such a positive community of people who come in, and I have people. I do like a weekly prompt. I give it out on Mondays, and then we meet back on the following Monday and read what we wrote from the prompt. So many people came, they'd never written before, and now all of a sudden they're writing these prolific pieces, pouring their hearts out in front of people on live, and it's the most incredible thing I've ever seen.
Wow.
I
And you
love
do
it.
this all live?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So people can come in, jump in live with you and share theirs. Well,
Yep. So I open it up. I do like little open mics, and I bring one person up at a time. I check in with them, ask them how their day was. They read a piece, I read a piece, and we just kind of talk about the stories behind it or whatever they need to talk about that day. It's their space.
that's
So
awesome.
yeah.
Well, I'm putting your TikTok here, the poetry.by.colton on here. And so a direct link for anyone listening or watching. And I really honor that you're making those spaces and like being vulnerable for other people to be able to be vulnerable too. I feel like that's why it may be working, because you're putting yourself out there in that way, and you're like encouraging other people. They see other people starting to share and they're like, oh man, I want to share. Why was I quiet? Like maybe I
Yep.
should speak up. So
It's been really humbling too. Um just it's easy to get in a mindset as a man. You know what people are hurting around you, or just
mm,
as a human in general. You know that people are struggling, but you're so turned inward on your own struggles. It Getting in a space where other people are being vulnerable and opening up is just it's a breath of fresh air, as crazy as that sounds, just to be around like-minded people who are struggling just the same as you. Um, it's been so cool, man, and I've done more for myself in the healing space these past few months than I've ever done in my entire life.
Wow. That's one of the things I think that's beautiful about making yourself vulnerable, putting yourself out there, that a lot of people don't know till you try it. Because I know a lot of men tell me like, oh, fuck no, that's not safe, I'm not going to do that. But actually what you get from it is so much more healing and response, and you allow other people to be of service to you, and you're actually of service to other people because you're exemplifying like being able to do that and being comfortable, which is, you could still be afraid but show up and do it anyway. Like, you're being it's an act of courage. And I really honor that in you, especially for so many people who feel like they don't have a voice, or they don't know how to express themselves. And for anyone who's still feeling that resistance, what might you say to them?
It's tough because truthfully, all I can do is show up for them and meet them where they're at. So there's no magic bullet phrase, no word that I can say that's really going to change their mind until they're ready. But what I'd recommend for them to do is just get online, talk to somebody, anybody. It can be a random stranger online, as long as they're, responsible about it in 2025, I suppose. But once you get your algorithms on these social media apps working in your favor, those people you can surround yourself. Some of my best friends came from TikTok. I talk to them every single day. If I'm having a rough day, those are the people I call. And
Do you actually pick up the phone and call them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Before I got on here, I spent the last hour on FaceTime with this incredible poet who, me and her, we have these writing sessions and we bring other people in, and it's all done through like FaceTime. We FaceTime each other, Snapchat. I have countless people I talk to from the app.
That is awesome. That is very refreshing to hear. And I'm always looking for how to reach more people and get our message out there. So what are the platforms you found have been, the least creepy or most safe or accepting for you? I mean, you kind of said them, but feel free to share again.
Yeah, I'm a really, really old school guy. So I talk on TikTok, I text a lot, and okay, I'm really bad at responding to text, to be honest, but I try. Best way is just pick up the phone and call a friend. If you trust somebody and you connect with them, they'll give them your number. Who cares?
I love that. That's really great advice. I'm going to take that down here. If you care, I'm going to title that part, and make sure we capture it for anyone who's listening. And you say you're old school. So where are people who are new school hanging out?
Discord.
Oh,
Yeah, everybody's in Discord.
yeah.
And there's these huge communities, and my phone goes off all the time. I'm in a couple of them, never check it. Really bad about it. It's funny, it just went off. But it's a really strong tool, and I wish I was better about it, because then you can talk to a whole community versus just a couple of people.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm a really busy guy at the end of the day. I am work full time. I do poetry. I'm live 4 days a week. I'm helping other people out. In my outside life, I'm a business development consultant, so I work in the financial space, the annuity space in particular, and train people on how to sell annuities. So I'm doing that most of the day, always on the phone. So maybe that's why I don't just give me a call, and that's how I do it.
You got a full life, and that's beautiful. And I also would say what I say to a lot of my coaching clients, in that it's okay just to pick one place and do it. You don't have to be the master of everything, but to show up consistently in a few specific areas, which you already do. So maybe you can give yourself a little compassion with that one. I know you're doing great. I'm just always interested in learning more. I'm not even on Discord, so but I want to keep it moving into kind of our main topic today, and why young men or people in general are still afraid to feel, and how you're changing that. You've changed that. You're developing this community to speak your mind and your word through poetry live. You also say, like, you talk about making space for people who are too scared to sit with it, making space for what people are
Yep.
mostly too scared to sit with. And
Yep.
why do you think so many men equate silence with strength? And how do you think we can start rewriting that story?
I mean, the truth is, we watched it our entire lives. I know at least I did. I look at my father, and man, he was what I would consider one of the strongest people in the world. He was a firefighter. He ran into burning buildings. And he did it with a smile on his face most of the time. You know, it's selfless. But then that man never broke. And I did eventually see it later in life that, man, he's just a man, you know, and that kind of clicked for me when I got older. But growing up, I just saw my dad doing everything with a smile on his face and struggling through it, but not showing it. And so I started doing that as well, because that's what a man does. And I actually have a piece called What the Fuck is a Man? And it touches on that.
Well, this sounds like a great time to share that if you're open to it.
Oh, I would love to.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Let me make sure I have the right one pulled up here. There we go. All right. My father told me a man stands tall, no matter what. Back straight, voice steady, no room for softness, no space for fear. A man doesn't break. A man doesn't cry. A man carries the weight of the world, and if it crushes him, he carries it quieter. So I did. God, I did. I swallowed my tears, bit my tongue until I tasted blood, held every ounce of fear, anger, and exhaustion, because that's what a man does, right? And if I couldn't, if I cracked, if I faltered, if I bent beneath the weight, then I failed. So tell me, what the fuck is a man? Is it the one who takes every hit and never flinches? The one who grits his teeth and says nothing? The one who suffocates under weight and calls it duty? Because if that's it, then I don't want it. I'm tired. I'm scared. I don't know how to do this, and I hate that I have to say that out loud. Hate that it makes me feel like I'm unraveling. I hate that I'm not like him. Hate that I can't hold the world like he did. Hate that some days I feel fragile. Like one wrong move and I'll shatter. And yet, my daughter doesn't need a man who never breaks. She needs to know she doesn't have to swallow her own pain. She needs to know that love isn't silence, that strength isn't suffering. Does that make me less of a man? What the fuck is a man? Is it the father who works himself into the ground, or the one who kneels beside his kid and says, it's okay to hurt, I'm here? Is it the strength to carry the weight alone, or to finally say, I can't do this by myself anymore? Is it being the wall or being the wreckage? I don't know. I just know I'm trying. I'm trying to be everything. Strong enough, soft enough, there enough, and it's never enough. So tell me, what the fuck is a man?
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, that one I think touches on that topic perfectly. It's true. We need to, the way we correct it is by addressing it and talking about it. You don't have to be silent. You're a human. You have emotions. It's okay to feel those emotions, and we don't have to suppress those. You're not weak. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It takes a man to stand up and say, I'm not okay.
I think you said it right there. And where did you learn that from? If you learned, you're struggling with how to show up. Yeah, well, I heard it. Yeah, I heard it in the poem. So where did you learn? Yeah.
Yeah, when I became a father, my whole perspective changed, because I realized that for the first few years of my daughter's life, I did that. I was still that man. I wanted to be a provider. I wanted to show up in the only way I saw my parents show up, which my dad show up, which was financially, and he was never the soft, here, come tell me about your day kind of dad. It was tell me the highlights and then get out. You know what I mean? Um, and so when I had a kid, I realized that it's okay to not be strong.
Mm.
It's okay. It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to break. And if I show my daughter that, hey, I do struggle sometimes, but I'm here showing up anyway, there's nothing stronger than that.
Mm. That's beautiful. I'm kind of processing that. It's just really powerful. I want to let our listeners kind of soak that in. I actually wrote a song in my early 20s called Okay. And it was about it's okay not to be okay. And at the end of the song, I'm like screaming, like, I'm not okay. It's very Kurt Cobain.
I'm going to have
And
to check out now.
I don't even know if I ever recorded it, to be honest. There's some things like my whole band have now started to record solo albums. So I have these things starting to pop up. Like maybe it's time for me to do mine. So I ran into the drummer again, Jonathan Crowley's amazing dude. And we actually covered some Nirvana songs, but he was like, what about that song? He's like, remember when you just screamed like, I'm okay? And I was like, whoa, you remember that song? Hell yeah. And I used to be embarrassed about it a little bit because it was pretty, blood on the pen as you share and in the voice. I wasn't sure if people could handle that. I was more worried about them handling my energy, and the more I just kind of it was so amazing to me that like 20 years later, of all the songs I wrote and performed with this one drummer, that he was like, that song. So that's the one I felt most uncomfortable doing, and yet I really believed in the message. And I wonder kind of how go ahead.
I want to expand on that, and just something I've heard recently repetitively, that those uncomfortable ones, those ones that don't feel great, they're kind of sitting with you, they're really heavy in your chest. Those are the ones you have to share because those mean something. They're heavy because they mean something, and those have the most impact. So if something's sitting with you that's weighing on your chest, just get it out. That's where all my best work comes from. I've learned to sit in the uncomfortable space. I'm never going to say I got comfortable with being uncomfortable because it contradicts itself, right? But push yourself to get out of that mindset where I don't, and like you said, that was 20 years ago, so maybe you have now, but don't put it out for other people. It's for you to address, and if it helps other people, fantastic. And something like that, I mean, it sounds like it would resonate heavily. That sounds incredible.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that inspiration. And yeah, I get in my head as an artist, especially around solo stuff. So I'm getting it's beautiful. I think as I'm getting more complete with myself and confident and okay with all in my shadows, which I've really been working through over the last decade, it's like all the stuff's coming forward that I never really completed. So it's really inspiring, and that's why I love having people like you on here, because like we're already lighting it up together. And you said some just what I think incredibly wise things. You weren't kidding when you were 30, when you were 15. I got a friend like that. He's like an old man. He just bought his first pair of jeans when we met each other in college. So those uncomfortable things that are heavy on your chest are the ones you have to share. Just want to highlight that when you said that, and that also what you've learned and being a father is it's okay not to be strong and okay not to be okay, and that you're here showing up anyway. Where did you learn that? I think still there's a lot of men who are fathers that struggle with that, and or just men or husbands or partners or brothers or sons, and they still feel like they've got to be strong, they have to be the one that has it together. What would you say to them?
There's gonna be a little long-winded here, but The truth
All
is,
good.
I struggle with it still. I'm learning just the same as everybody else. Where I learned it from was really taking a step back and looking at what what helped me, what would have helped me. And you hear it all the time, be the person that you needed when you were a kid, that
Hmm.
you would have felt safe with as a kid. And I really try to live by that because there's so much strength. I needed somebody who would just not put a fake face on, who wouldn't pretend like they were okay all the time, who would show me the way to feel emotions. Because in all honesty, I never learned. I talk about it where I picked this weight up, and be that my work ethic, running nonstop, waking up at 4:30 in the morning, staying up till midnight just to make sure I get everything done in a day. Um, Nobody ever taught me how to slow down. Nobody taught me how to feel
Hmm.
emotions. They kind of showed me that emotions were a bad thing. When you feel them, you're out of control.
Hmm.
But that's simply not true. So I try to be the man that I needed when I was a kid.
That's beautiful. And kind of answered my question of how did you start to do that? And I think that's there's a question I was going to ask towards the end, but I think we're already getting close, and we can go around more, and it's great. Like I've got so much I want to talk to you about, so maybe we'll have to have you back again. If you could sit across from your younger self now, like the boy who is still holding all that pain in, or the young
Yeah.
man, what's one thing that you would say to him today?
I wouldn't sugarcoat a damn thing. Let's make that clear. That kid still has hell to walk through, and life's gonna beat the shit out of him multiple times. You're gonna get up, you're gonna fall, you're gonna get up, you're gonna fall. Um, you just keep putting one foot in front of the other and get used to not being okay. Just quit trying to hide. Quit trying to be strong. Actually, another another piece I wrote here was called "Let's Be Honest," and it's kind of addressing that. Um, People who try to hide behind being the strong one, and you can't. It's just not healthy. You can't be strong 100% of the time.
Woo! Mic drops today. Mic drops, Colton. That is, man. I want the if I could just put that on loudspeaker for everyone today, I would. It just like you can't hide behind being the strong one. It just 100% of the time it just won't work. And I mean, I'd say that to world leaders, to CEOs, to moms, to anyone right now
Anyway,
listening, especially those young people and those young guys who making up to us or other men saying like, what is a man? I don't know who to listen to now. I got this Joe Rogan in my ear, and I got in one ear, and I got Colton Van Bali in the other one. Like, and maybe both of those can exist, but I believe that our the power of our heart is much stronger than our brain. And if you are looking for these other male figures, like consider I think this is why it's so wise what you said. Like you need to start learning how to be that person that you need. And as there's one thing I've learned from being in a lot of relationships over many decades is that, and trying this, apology to all my exes, no one can hold the weight for you. No one can rescue you. No one can save you. No one can carry you. People can help for a little while, but if they start doing it too long, like they're enablers, and they may have some things they need to work out, right? And I love how you just didn't sugarcoat that you could be real with a kid. My dad said to me when I was young, I was really struggling with bullying, and honestly, as much as I might have received some bullying, the reason I didn't fight back is I was afraid I would really hurt someone. I had so much rage inside that I was like, I'm going to hurt myself and someone else. And I'm afraid of going to the hospital. I'm afraid of how much I'm going to hurt them and me,
yeah.
And so and then it was like sports, like, oh my God, I'll get kicked out of high school. So there's always these like slightly bigger things, but I would have dreams about trying to like punch people in the face. And
Oh yeah.
I learned to do, I do some martial arts, and I manage my rage really well now, but there's still, inside of those, it was like, I didn't know what to do. And it was things like, sports and writing, and starting to yeah, I guess I didn't have great spaces and examples, but if we actually start to look and communicate, I think that's a beautiful thing that you're doing. Like, hey, here's what's worked for me. Maybe this is better than like trying to go get in a fight right now, because it really does, like, that just everybody in way more pain. Even if it feels like it gets something out for you, you end up getting hurt in the process. Like you'll break your own knuckles and hands and things that actually they're learning as much as we want to express rage. And I kind of hate this statistic, but it's actually better to practice easing from that, slowing down, like you said, and listening for what's underneath that, and just knowing that your nervous system is up here and you need to go break, versus engaging with that. Like road rage, I see amping up right now. Violence, all these things, even self-harm. So I wonder, for people who are like, maybe still feel invisible or don't know, or still sitting in silence, are still afraid to talk, or for whom it doesn't feel safe, is there anything else you might want to leave them with?
I can't express how important it is to speak out and talk about it to somebody. You know, as men, people in general, I'm going to include everybody in this. We live in silence when it comes to our emotions and where we're at, especially when we're struggling. You need to speak out. People are dying at alarming rates, and men specifically. It's a terrifying statistic. I don't have the number in front of me, but if we would just talk to one another, I spent my whole life feeling like I was alone, that I couldn't talk about it. And once I learned that I could talk to a buddy about, hey man, I'm having a really shitty day today. You want to just hang out, and talk about it? It changed my life. And now I'm doing it in a public space in front of people. And that's kind of how I frame it. I'm healing out loud. And I challenge everybody to do the same. Don't be quiet in your healing. Heal out loud.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah, you said it, man. Don't be quiet in your healing. Heal out loud. Wow. What if everyone started healing out loud? Be like, I don't know if I can handle that. It's awesome that you said that. I'm going to give a plug to experience camps. So I just came from, they do grief work for teens all over the country. They're a nonprofit, and they twice a year now have an adult grief camp. And it is I just came back from it. It was the most transformational experience I've ever had in my life. And part of what made that possible is we all dropped in and were so profoundly connected spiritually, mentally, emotionally right away, because we've had a profound relationship with grief, with the loss of a loved one that just changed us. And it was amazing to see people healing out loud. And yet this is the safest I've ever felt in my life. And I'm 44 years old. I've been in all types of amazing healing spaces and communities. And whoa, I was with 100 strangers. And by the end, I was crying because I didn't want to leave after 3 days, because I just never felt so seen or understood. And it's amazing when we start sharing our pain, we actually help other people feel seen. So even though some people are like, oh, I don't want to go and hear all this horrible stories about everyone's death and dying, but we were doing so much profound healing, and we had so much fun. Also, we were like camp vibing most of the time, but I was in a cabin with 4 guys who had all lost their dads. And that has been crushing for me. So to just be able to be myself and talk about my pain, and we could talk about death at any time of the day, and people are like, all right, cool. Now you want to go play kickball? And we spent time making space for it.
Yeah.
It's just profound to me. I'm just like, I'm going to pour everything. I'm going to give them shout outs after shout outs. You can go to TikTok and check out experience camps and see 30 seconds of my life from this past weekend, but it was just extraordinary to see how they're integrating pain in life for young people and adults. And so I just want to echo that for anyone who's listening, and you're doing that, Colton, and you're giving other people a voice by sharing yours. And I know you know that, and you're getting a lot out of it too, which is what's so awesome about it. So I just want to say, extraordinary man and a courageous man, what we might call a real man, because you got a beautiful heart and you show up, and you're not afraid to be messy and share your pain. And there are women who would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to upgrade their partner to have any of those traits right now. And so if you're single, look out for your DMs. If you're not, thank you for just continuing to exemplify that space either way for us here. And we'll be sure to follow you on TikTok at poetry.by.colton. I'm on there as Ben Curtis Official, and we've got some Dude Nation stuff on there, some more tools for men. And also, I'm just going to give a quick plug. I have a new AI conversational coaching assistant named Aiden, and he's this Australian voice that's highly trained in personal and professional support for men of all generations, especially young, and it can help any gender. And it's 845-470-DUDE, and it can take as many calls as you want, 24 hours a day, and you can share anything you want, including asking it about like why you're there or this privacy of it. But it's trained in crisis management too. So if you are in crisis, it's not going to be like, let me help you now. It's going to be like, get off the phone, go call this number. So it's about sending you back out in the world to action. But we're always a resource for men. If you want to get in touch with Colton, if you have questions about this, if there's things you loved or want to hear more of, or you just had a great time, be sure to follow us, comment below. And let me put Colton's thing back up here and check out Colton's book, which is Let's Talk About It. Where can we find that?
Yeah, so it's available on Amazon. I have it on my website too, which is just I believe Poetry by Colton, something Shopify.com. I'm terrible at remembering that, and I'm bad at blogging myself. But it's out of stock. I bought like 40 copies and they were gone. I really underestimated. Yeah, no, it's been an incredible
good problem
experience.
to have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we can do a whole thing on launching your book and brand for our next show. You went from being afraid to talk about anything to like having a sold out book on Amazon right now. So I just want to honor you, and man, keep putting yourself out there. It's fucking beautiful. I wish we could. I hope we can hang out in person one day. But feel free to come back on the show anytime. Send me a message. Let me know how I can support you or any men in your life. And any final words you might want to leave our listeners with?
Just, thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. Love the conversation. But the biggest thing, if you took anything away from what I said, it's heal out loud. The sense of community is so important, and I severely underestimated it my entire life. Having the right people around you is the most important thing you can do. So be loud in your healing. Talk to the right people. You're going to find some wrong ones, and that always sucks when it happens, but I promise it's going to be okay. And just be loud.
Yes. Just be loud. I love that. And if you're looking for a heart-centered organization of men, the Dude Nation is a great resource. We're always here for you, and ask us any questions. Colton Van Bali, did I get it right?
You did. I'm impressed.
Yeah. I listen. I listen. Man, beautiful heart and soul and mind, and God bless you and whatever you went through to get here. I I heard you say how much it sucks and everything, and it does. Even grief sucks, but there's so much beauty, I think, when we start to sit with the pain. And that's what I want to share is those things that we don't speak out kill us, you know. And you have an opportunity to live again and laugh again and cry again, and those all make a full human. And feeling is sexy. So I'm going to take some quotes from this. I feel like I got to make some t-shirts after this one. But feel free to take any of these, Colton, and put them on, like make some merch out of it. And just keep sharing your message. And thank you again. Have a beautiful day. Thank you, everyone, for listening. If there's someone who you know should hear this today, please be sure to share it with them. And if it was you, comment and subscribe if you haven't already, wherever you like to stream. And we'll see you next time in the Dude Nation. Peace.